Video games are one of the most popular forms of entertainment ever created, as the industry is worth an estimated $250 billion, which is more than double the movie and music industry combined. And I assume about 95% of that net worth is due to the absurd amount of Fortnite skins and emotes people have bought to look cool. I guess. I don't know, I'm just speculating. There are tons of genres people force their time into, like first-person shooters, sports games, Souls-likes, top-down games, sandboxes, simulators, strategy games, and mobile games.
Alright, I'm multiplying, which is great because I need to kill all these little red men and there's more of me to do it. Shooting the tires out, killing more, scoring points. Yeah, oh!
Although many of the top mainstream games have several differences, all have one thing in common: reviews. Them being absolute peak given to us by the gods themselves, or shit that belongs in the trash, doesn't matter. We all get an honest look, which is dictated by one single number. Most of the time. No one likes joy nowadays, so I'm gonna discuss the most shit, trash, and objectively terrible games ever made. Lord of the Rings is one of the most renowned and popular film series of all time, grossing over $2.9 billion throughout all its films. Naturally, to maximise profits, why not make a game on this wildly popular IP? So that's what they did. Several games were made over the years. Some of these game adaptations were actually very good, such as Lord of the Rings Online, Return of the King, and Battle for Middle-earth. But the most recent addition to the franchise is the tragic and disappointing Lord of the Rings Gollum. As described on the Steam page, taking place in parallel to the events described in the Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings Gollum is an action-adventure game and an epic interactive experience. You play as the enigmatic Gollum on his perilous journey to find out how he outwitted the most powerful characters in Middle-earth. Now that sounds pretty epic, right? Well, that's what other people thought when purchasing it, but had completely different opinions after playing. This isn't a game. This isn't an experience. Steam Refund Simulator. That's all you need to know. Got this for free, and I want a refund. Gollum in this game looks like if Crazy Frog was a fentanyl addict. So as you can tell, overall the game was very poorly received. From most of what I can gather, the gameplay was boring, dull, full of fetch quests, and uninteresting platforming segments. And on top of this, you have stereotypical stealth game AI, where after seeing you go out of sight, they just seem to think you never existed at all. Meaning, there are no stakes to any of the encounters you get into. In addition, were the graphics. Most people expect a game with a AAA price tag to have AAA graphics, but no, they look like complete dog shit. Now you can make the excuse that they're stylized and not intended to be hyper-realistic, but the issue was, even without the high-res visuals, the game performed like a PowerPoint presentation. People with 4080 graphics cards were even struggling with this title. Just to add the cherry on top of the cake, the developer and publisher of the title, Daedalic Entertainment, decided to completely shut down their game development branch, citing the reason that they would like to focus on publishing exclusively. Although very poorly executed, it doesn't hold a candle to the next game. DayZ is not a scam.
And scammer gets scammed, buddy.
But a game trying to copy it is.
Word for word, bar for bar!
The Day Before is a multiplayer zombie survival game created by the studio Fantastic, and is absolutely terrible. Back in 2021, an announcement trailer for a game called The Day Before appeared on IGN's YouTube channel. It looked stunning, the graphics detailed, the atmosphere immersive, and the players hungry. Several more beautiful trailers were released over the coming months, causing The Day Before to shoot to the top of Steam's wishlist charts. Gamers were ravenous. A couple of delays later bring us to the release date in December 2023. Thousands of people purchase the game, ready for the experience of their lifetime. That is until they're met with this. The Day Before was advertised all throughout its marketing that it was a massively multiplayer online zombie survival game. Now let's deconstruct that statement. First of all, the game cannot be classified as an MMO, as the lobby sizes are at a max of 32 players, and you'll never find that many people in a lobby because they're never full. In fact, the lobbies were so barren, they added artificial firing sounds in the background to convince players that there were other people in different parts of the map. Second of all, this is a zombie survival game in the loosest form of the words, as you'll hardly ever find any of them, and when you do, the performance will drop due to how poorly optimised it is. Finally, the survival aspect. It was shown throughout all the promotional material, and in the final release, it was just completely deleted. The only thing left were the weapon customization options. A slew of other features were lost and forgotten, such as the car mode physics, building destruction, and proximity chat. Neatly packaging this all together were the bugs. These include, but are not limited to, you clipping through the walls, clipping through the floor, all your loot placed in storage disappearing, and other players' meshes having a complete mental breakdown. The people who had anticipated this game for 2 years had been completely robbed. This caused the review page on Steam to be bombed until it was removed in January 2024. The year is 1982, and Amblin Entertainment has just dropped the absolute banger of a film that is
E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
And just like the Lord of the Rings franchise, they were willing to sell the rights for a game release. Atari obtained the rights for the small sum of $21 million. Game development worked more like a single artist meticulously handcrafting a painting back in the 80s, rather than thousands of people working on one title today. And Atari had one artist for the job, Howard Scott Warshaw. This man was single-handedly responsible for classics like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Yar's Revenge, so it was the clear option. But to capitalise on the hype of the film itself, Atari required him to complete the game within 5 weeks. 5 weeks is absolutely insane for any developer, even an experienced one like Howard. But Howard gave zero fucks, so we got down and worked every day for those 5 weeks until release day. In December 1982, E.T. the Extraterrestrial was released for the Atari 2600, quickly selling over 1 million copies and hitting number 3 on the charts. While sales numbers seemed like a huge success, the reviews said otherwise, as the game was buggy, disorientating, and hard to follow, due to teleporting to other stages suddenly. This was clearly not thanks to the extremely short development time, which gave Howard very little time to playtest. This caused owners of the game to swiftly return their copies for refunds. On top of this, they had millions of unsold copies, and more coming back to get their money. Later in 1983, the game industry started to tank, and hard. Critics started to falsely blame E.T. as the cause of this, although there were a myriad of other reasons for it. The crash was so bad that between 1983 and 85, the industry lost 97% of its value, and E.T. was blamed for all of this. But I'm not sympathising for E.T. on this point. It's still an absolutely terrible game, in both gameplay and adaptation of the film. Fortnite, Apex, Overwatch 2, Rainbow Six Siege. What do all these massively popular games have in common? Well, is that they're all fucking shit. No, I'm joking. Mostly. It's actually that they're all live service games. The majority of games in the past, like before 2017-ish, were a single purchase, and you get the whole game experience and all. Sometimes they might add some DLC in the future if the sales of the base game were really good. But what's most important in this kind of game model is that it's a single purchase, which means that the greedy bastard companies only have one chance to suck money out of your wallet. They want the max amount of money possible. So the execs went into a lab and worked on a model where the player would continue to keep purchasing. I mean, playing. Yeah, definitely that. Now let me introduce you to the live service game model. A live service game is generally free, and continually has updates added to the base game, generally in seasons. For the game to make money, cosmetic skins for characters and weapons are implemented for purchase. Ever since Epic dropped Fortnite, every other company has been fighting to get a spot in the ring. From all this info, you can clearly see that no other games need to be added, as the genre is already insanely oversaturated, right? Well, Sony execs must be completely blind, because everyone else could see that clear as day. You all know which game I'm talking about, right? It's Concord, obviously. Concord is a hero shooter developed by Firewalk Studios that took 8 years to develop, with an estimated budget of $100 to $300 million. Now you're probably thinking a game with that high of a budget would be, you know, like, good, and you know, original, and you know, the characters would be likeable, but no, it's kinda terrible. It's essentially just a rip-off of Overwatch, but just worse, in like, every way. Now here's the hilarious part. On launch day, Concord achieved an immense milestone of 697 players. But here's the really sad part. The game's lifespan was only 11 days. Now if we estimate that it cost $200 million to develop, not accounting for any game sales, I'll get onto that in a second, it cost them $18 million a day to run. That's like the average monthly rent in New York, but, you know, every day. Now let's get back to game sales. Remember what I said about live service games before, that they're generally free? Well, Concord wasn't. It was $40 fucking. And I'm asking myself, why would someone want a game in a genre where it's super oversaturated, where all the competition is better, where all the competition is free, and where none of the characters look goofy? That's what I think are objectively the worst games ever made. Anyway, like if you liked the video, dislike if you didn't, and subscribe.